Do 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 do. I've been told by more than a few people that Nikon is in a bit of a financial crisis. How true that is, that I don't know. It is interesting of note that the two people I trust most on this earth are two of those several people that told me that information. So you could take that for what it's worth. You might not think it's worth anything. It's perfectly fine. Love Nikon a lot. Got hundreds of Nikon lenses, literally hundreds and hundreds. Owned every major Nikon camera ever made. I don't own the dinkies, which is D3000 series, D5000 series cameras, and I don't test stuff like the P900, which I don't know why people keep asking me about cameras like that, because I don't test them and I don't review them. I do know for a fact that Nikon is hoarding, supposedly, the IMX 455. That's the newest 61 megapixel sensor. Yes, indeed, it is a Sony sensor. What camera they're going to slap that in, I have absolutely no idea. I do know of all the mirrorless talk and comments that I get, people keep talking about the demise of DSLR cameras. And I have no idea where they're getting that from. It's probably from the very tiny bubble of people in Diaper Review and some of these photography forums that are, logically so, greatly appreciating their mirrorless cameras. And of course Nikon themselves now have two mirrorless cameras, but they're not professional cameras, and that is even by the admission of the head of Nikon Europe, whose first name is Dirk. Yeah, I know, I can't remember his last name. His first name is Dirk. There's an interview where he actually says that. By the way, we have here the best DSLR, the fastest? No, that'd be the Nikon D5, and of course the D6 is coming out. The single best, not my opinion, just a hardcore empirical fact, best DSLR ever made, jack of all trades and basically master of all trades, Nikon D850. There's just not a chance in hell that you own this camera and you're unhappy with it, unless you have some sort of strange mental defect. But all the mirrorless fanboys, and I am a mirrorless fanboy, however, I never bought into mirrorless thinking that it's smaller, because it's really not. It is in some instances, but that's ridiculous. It's, kind of stupid for somebody like me or some other sort of keyboard jockey, and I've been out all day. I'm not really a keyboard jockey. It just feels like I'm a keyboard jockey because I sit behind the damn computer way too much. That's like 30 pounds overweight. It's worried about a few extra ounces on a DSLR over that of a mirrorless camera. It's kind of crazy, right? It is crazy. But all these people saying, oh, DSLR it's going away. 99% of all hardcore working professional sports action, wildlife, photojournalists, product photographers, that's all still Nikon and Canon DSLRs. So just shy of 100% of working professional photographers are using DSLRs. That's currently. Oh, but that's going away. Really? People have been saying that now for like two years ago. People were like, DSLRs are doomed. 2 years, mirrorless is gonna. It's still slightly shy of 100% of working professionals are still using DSLRs. My Nikon equipment, by the way, has not gone anywhere whatsoever. I find it interesting that everybody thinks that Nikon is heralding in the demise of DSLRs with their Z series. Dirk, president of Nikon Europe, and I forget his last name, just type in Dirk, president Nikon of Nikon Europe, said that the Z series were quote-unquote not so much, we were not designing these for professionals. Of course they're not. They have inferior autofocus. The build quality is extremely nice. The image output, of course, is incredibly nice on both the Nikon Z6 and Z7. They have no vertical grip. They have no dual card slot. People say, well, what about that XT30 you've been praising endlessly? It's only got one card slot. And that's correct, but I also never at any point in time inferred or implied that the XT30 is for a paid working photographic gig. Redundancy is God, and dual card slots is an absolute necessity. Period. There's just no chance in hell. Well, it's an XQD card. Those are a lot more reliable. I have personally had 2 XQD card failures. That's just me. So don't give me this nonsense about XQD card reliability, okay? binary data like that, saved in the same sort of exFAT file structure. Doesn't matter if it's an SD card or an XQD card. Don't give me this BS. Well, they're more durable if you step on them. Well, how unprofessional and stupid are you if you're perpetually stepping on your media cards? I mean, that's not a reason, for having a single... The same Nikon fanboys, and this is important, that were taking a shit on Sony for so many years for having an unprofessional camera with one card slot, are they themselves rationalizing the Nikon Z series camera? That's very ironic. Well, it's only got one card slot, but that's okay. I really don't need more one. It's like, you're the same Nikon fanboys that were, throwing poo like a monkey at a zoo at Sony for having one card slot for all those years. So don't give me this crap about it. It's okay if it's on a Nikon camera. Yeah, one card slot's okay on a Nikon camera. I was like, you're the same person who was complaining about Sony one card slots for years and years and years and years. What a bunch of hypocrisy that is. There's not a single... Here, listen up, girlfriend. Since basically 100% of hardcore professional working photographers still using DSLRs, and the fact that the Z series cameras, there's not even a... You ever had your hands on any of those Z lenses? They're crap. They're kit lens garbage. They're like holding a plastic Chinese squeeze toy. There's only one professional lens for the Z series Z mount cameras, and it's the 58 millimeter, really, really fast, $6,000. It's actually too big for an autofocus mechanism, even an AFS silent wave motor, micro motor, SWM micro motor, which is not a true silent wave motor. A true S-series micro motor. There's not even enough room in there for this. A manual focus lens for $6,000. Nikon, congratulations on smoking crack. I know there's somebody at Nikon, there's a team of people, these new Z-series cameras, they're all got junky kit lenses. We need to have at least one professional lens on the horizon for it. And of course, yes, with the adapter you can use the AFS and GC. Of course, you can't use the screw drive lenses. Well, you can with peaking. It's like, yeah, but nobody would buy a Z-series camera just so they could stick an adapter on, then stick an awesome professional D-series screw drive lens on there, and then manually focus it. With Nikon's, by the way, inferior focus peaking. Nikon's focus peaking is right along the league of... Actually, it's worse than Sony's. Sony's focus peaking ain't that good, and the Nikon Z series focus peaking also ain't that good. Yeah, I use the word ain't. Later this year, the Nikon D6 is going to be announced. Also, the D7... I don't know if they're going to call it the D760. But multiple sources have basically told me that the D760 is going to be basically a full-frame version, not at 20 megapixels, but supposedly 24. A full-frame version of the Nikon D500, but even then updated. And if that is what it's going to be, they're going to sell the hell out of it. But you fail to realize that Nikon... All of Nikon's serious glass for not these keyboard jockeys on Diaper Review and these other photography forums or on YouTube, but the real hardcore working professionals that, they have to put bacon on the table with these lenses. And all of their glass is still F-mount. Dude, no, there's not a single YouTuber out there that's mentioned this fact. It's like... the Z cameras are interesting, but all of Nikon's attention to their professional lenses is still directed at F-mount. Like the 500mm f4 phase Fresnel, a really compact Fresnel lens, very small, compact, basically the 500 version of the 300mm f4 phase Fresnel that I have, an ultra-compact sports action wildlife lens. Those are all F-mount lenses. Yeah, but you could use those AFS and G-series F-mount lenses on the Z6, so that still applies. Yeah, that would be nice if it had a dual card slot and the exact same autofocus or even half as good as that found on the Nikon D850. Which it's not, because redundancy is God. And if you're a paid working professional, you have to have dual card slot redundancy. Yeah, but the Z6 is awesome. I love it. So-and-so, that real professional famous photographer is using a Z... That guy's a Nikon ambassador. He's a paid spokesperson. He's a paid puppet. I got sock puppets right over here, by the way. You know? They're paid puppets of Nikon. I'm a Nikon ambassador. I love the Z-Series camera. I recommend the Z-Series camera. In private, I would never recommend this piece of shit because it's only got one card slot and inferior autofocus, but since I'm a Nikon ambassador... Nikon! People get that. You know, people even know what a spokesperson is? It's like, we're going to pay you to say this is awesome, even though it's not really awesome. It's pretty good. It's a really good camera, but, you know, it's not a professional camera. I love that interview with Dirk, who even confessed outright, the president of Nikon Europe, Dirk, I forget his last name, but look it up. Dirk said the Z-Series cameras are not professional. Of course they're not! There's no vertical grip capability. You can't attach a vertical grip on there. Not one that interconnects for shutter release and whatnot. There's no dual card slot. This is Nikon's entry into the foray of mirrorless cameras. People say, why is Nikon making mirrorless cameras? Because they're tired of losing market share bandwidth. When HP bought Compaq, they didn't start calling Compaqs HPs. They still kept the name Compaq for a very, very long time. Why do they do that? For floor space, for bandwidth of... It doesn't matter if you bought a Compaq, the money was still going to HP because HP owns Compaq. They didn't change the name. Nikon doesn't want to lose market share bandwidth. You know, they want in on that DSLR, that mirrorless money. That's the big MM. There's a big team of people at Nikon, somewhere in Japan and likely to in the United States. Like, you know, we're tired of losing money to, we need some of that M&Ms. That's what that, mirrorless money. We're tired of losing mirrorless money. If you want to know why Nikon came out with Z-Series cameras, it's because of mirrorless money. We're tired of losing money to mirrorless. Will Nikon have a professional mirrorless camera in the future? Well, of course they will. Unless they go bankrupt, that is, in the meantime. Of course they will. It'll have a dual card slot. It'll have the capability of a vertical grip. It'll have better autofocus. It's their first mirrorless camera. Everybody knew it, including me. It's like, you know, you can't have a first version of something that's in camera. You know, the XT3 is way the hell better than the XT1, right? Why should we expect any less of Nikon on their first mirrorless camera? All of Nikon's Pro Glass is F-mount, so I just don't know what sort of Drano-laced street crack people are smoking when they say crazy stuff like, mirrorless, excuse me, DSLRs are dead, you need to buy a mirrorless camera. It's like, who is it dead to? The keyboard jockeys on these photography forums? Have you ever looked at like a press briefing? You got a pool full of photo bugs. Yeah, shutter bugs. Yeah, shutter bugs. We used to call them shutter bugs, excuse me. It's a whole Canon and Nikon. There's some cross-eyed doofus in the back row of the Sony, but he doesn't count. Excuse me. I had to interject that. So later this year is the Nikon D6, the Nikon D760, if that is what they're going to call it. Basically a full-frame version of the D500 that's been refreshed for superior autofocus. Obviously so. But, and apparently Nikon is hoarding, or is in the process of hoarding, the IMX 455, the 61 megapixel sensor. I have no idea what camera they're going to slap that in, but... Do you really need 60 megapixels with like a 3.2 or whatever it is micrometer pixel pitch on a full frame sensor camera? Of course, it's a BSI sensor. Anyway, D850 is amazing. I love the D850. Absolutely love it. One hell of a... Here's a serious issue, however. You have to buy a third-party battery charger for these batteries. Thankfully, I already had a couple of them because the battery charger is like... What is it, $150? And then you have to buy these batteries. You could buy knockoff batteries, but they... Anyways, the ENEL18B battery. I've got several of these. Also, the same one goes in the Nikon D5 and Nikon D4, D4S. It's 150 battery, and you have to buy this cap. So you got to buy the vertical grip, the charger, the super expensive battery to get 2 more frames per second and less mirror blackout time. But this is a hell of a camera. There's just, unless you are brain dead or you've been smoking crack laced with Drano, there's just not a chance in hell you would not love the D850. D500 is still an incredible camera. I'm so glad I was the first person to review that camera on YouTube. I told everybody to buy it, and everybody said I was full of shit. I was like, no, Nikon is going to sell the hell and gone out of the D5. I was proven 100% right. Everybody said I was wrong, most everybody. And I was, of course, 100% accurate. My hit rate on the Nikon DSLR reviews is 100%. I was right on the Nikon D5, I was right on the Nikon D850s, right on the Nikon D7500, right on the Nikon D850. So, my hit rate's better than anybody else. Am I gloating right now? Yes, I am. My hit rate is better than anybody else on Nikon Pro-End DSLR reviews, so. Yeah, but we don't like you. You're a bald asshole. Well, you know, I didn't know people, were taking my recommendations based upon my personality. If you want someone to smile at you and lie to you and blow smoke up your skirt, that is on countless other YouTube channels. Yeah. Wait for it. Nikon. I need to charge the batteries on this. I've been out all day shooting, as you can see from the sun on my face. And my batteries are depleted on my D850. Not too much, though. I love the big honking battery, the MB ENEL18B battery. But they are $150, $154 to be exact. Nikon. If we can overcharge you for something, we are Nikon. Hey, at least it's not Leica, right? Talk about getting overcharged and screwed. Leica. I need to drink more coffee. I haven't had enough coffee tonight. Thank you. If you like these videos, click the link below, or you can send me an email or a comment. Tell me how much you hate me. But I'm right, irregardless. Irregardless.